Hello, happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is doing wonderful and having a great start to your week. Let's see, we'll give it a moment, make sure I'm in the right place and that some people are joining in, hopefully. So, it is about 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a beautiful sunny day here in North Carolina, and so I'm glad that you're taking a moment out to join me and do a little paper crafting. So what we're going to look at today is, this is the card I posted on my blog. This is my entry for the International Highlights challenge, and so I hope you'll take a moment and go out and click on the links to follow it over to Kylie Bertucci's site and vote for my card. So it is a fun zfold card. Pretty, right? So then I made another card. So if a funfold card is a little bit too much for you and you feel like you're not ready to jump into something like this, you could do a simpler version, and you can see on this one here that I made, it's a regular fold. So I did the inside very similar. On the one that I used for my submit, the zfold here, I used a different stamp set. I used the Timeless Tropical for my sentiment on the inside, but for this card I used the, hey ladies, thanks for joining in. On this one I just used the sentiment from the Timeless Tulips. So I've got a very similar look, but with a little less going on. So if you are new to paper crafting, this would be a little bit easier for you to do. I've added a strip of white here to kind of give it that same look of the Z-fold. This piece of Mary Merlot, I did not corrugated it, so it's just a little faster and easier. I did still do the die cut, and I created the tulip with the tied bow, but I didn't add these really cute rhinestones, and I don't know if you can see it very well in the video, but this tulip has an extra dimension to it that this one does not. But I think both are just fabulous cards, and you know, so you've got to kind of go with what your mood is, what your skill level is, but I wanted you to see that you can make it fabulous no matter what you want to do with it. So we're going to create a third version of this card today, kind of an in-between, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move these out of the way and we're going to get started. So for my card layers today, in case you need to take a snapshot of this, I am going to update the header of the video so that it will have all your supplies and cut dimensions and any links that we talk about today. But we're going to start off with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of old olive cardstock, and I'm scoring that at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4, and I'll show you that. I've already scored mine, but I'll show it to you anyway. I've got a 3.5 by 4 3/4 piece of designer paper. This is from the Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Paper, which is gorgeous. It's got great foils in it. I just love it. And then we've got a piece of 3 3/4 by 2 1/4 Mary Merlot. And then I've already die cut this. I had a piece of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 Whisper White that I used the Stitch Shapes, the circle, the second largest circle, to go ahead and die cut that out for us. So that's already done for us. Then I've got a piece of 3" by 2 1/4" piece of Whisper White. That's what we're going to stamp and punch our tulips out of. And then I've got a 4" by 5 1/4" piece that we're going to use on the card inside. Lastly, you will need the old olive ribbon from the Ornate Garden Suite, and we're going to use about approximately 9 inches or so of that ribbon. Okay, so I'll move this out of the way and let's get started with our card base. So I had said you needed an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of old olive cardstock. So we want to score that. So I'm going to just bring in my paper trimmer, and hopefully I am in the camera somewhat here. I was hoping that turning my stand would help with the shadows. You guys will have to let me know if the shadows are worse or better than they have been the past few times I've gone live. So I can kind of figure out the orientation. I almost feel like this is a little worse. Not sure. So, okay. So I would slide this in to the 2 1/8 inch mark. move that cutting blade out of the way. I don't know how many times I've accidentally cut something that I did not mean to. And then you use the light gray blade to do your scoring. So just apply a little bit of a pressure when you slide that. And then you'll slide it down to the 4 1/4 inch mark, and you will score that again. That's going to give you what you need for your card base. So a Z-fold really is a super simple, fun fold. So it's a great place to get started if you're new to paper crafting. All right, so let's go ahead and fold on these score lines. So I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to run my bone folder along that to give a nice good crease. And then I'm going to fold it on that secondary line as well. Give it another crease. So now you can see it's a Z. That's why it's called a Z-fold. Great. Sounds fun and easy, I think. All right, I'm actually going to start with the inside of the project today, and let's do this inside layer first. So I've got one of the stems, and I'm going to use an old olive ink pad, and I'm just going to ink up and stamp a couple of little stems right down here in this corner, because I'm going to put a couple little rosebuds in here. Okay. And then, let's see, it looks like I did not grab the leaf. So I'm going to pretend I'm running around the table, which I actually am, not really pretending. And I'm getting my leaf stamp, which I see on the other side of the table. And I'm inking that up, yay, and adding a little leaf there. I'm not going to go too crazy with that one right now. All right. So the next thing I want to do is add my little rosebud. So I'm going to move this out of the way. You think the shadows are worse? Okay, I will definitely switch that then, Ginger. I was hopeful that it wasn't going to be that bad, but I do think it's worse as well. So, okay, so now to create our little flowers, we're going to use a couple of different ink pads so that we can get a little bit of a two-tone look to this. So you could stamp your flower. The images in this stamp set, let's see if I've got the stamp set here. Of course, not where I can get to it easily. Ah, yes, I do. Okay, so we are using the Timeless Tulip stamp set. So these images have a lot of depth in them already. Stampin' Up's done a really nice job with this distinctive stamp set. So it's got all kinds of shading that happens naturally when you stamp with it. But I wanted to add just a bit more color. So I'm going to do a little bit of a technique here. I don't know if this technique has a name or not. So I'm going to ink up the whole thing in the Blushing Bride ink. And then I'm going to take some Rococo Rose and a sponge dauber. And hopefully I'm in camera here. And I am going to add a little bit of ink onto that petal there. And then just stamp this down. And hopefully, I'm gonna have to clean this between each one. Hopefully you guys can see that that's got a little bit of a light and dark going on now. A little bit more depth than what you might have if you stamped it straight on. So I did need to clean that between times, so I did do that. We'll ink that up again, and we're gonna repeat this. We'll just get a little ink up in this top section here. And then I'm gonna stamp this right down again. So you can kind of see that two-tone look that gives that. Perfect? All right, so we'll come back to these colors in just a moment. I'm going to slide them out of the way, hopefully, because we will use it for the front flower. But let me go ahead and get our sentiment in here. So I'm using the Mary Merlot ink, and I'm not seeing the sentiment. So that means I forgot another stamp on the other side of my table. So let me run over again and grab it. Terrible, isn't it? Every time you think you're prepared and you have everything set out, you find that you're missing something. All right, so there's my hello. Cute, right? So let's go ahead and close this because I will get my arm in this and we'll make a huge mess. So we're ready to go ahead and put this down on the inside of our project. So we'll just run a little bit of snail adhesive. And I'm just gonna center that best that I can. I can't get my head over the top of it because of the camera, but hopefully that will sit in there good. Now, I purposely did not run my hands over that ink just in case this wasn't dry. Our inks dry very, very quickly, but sometimes reds For whatever reason with this Whisper White cardstock, sometimes they will smear. So I tried not to run my hand over the top of that. So now I've got my inside of my card done. So we're going to go ahead and put our next layer, which is this gorgeous designer paper. So a trick to this, I'm going to turn this to the side so I can see this, and I'm using this as a guide here. I'm going to go ahead and along this fold edge, I'm going to run some adhesive, but making sure I don't go past where that would be. Hey, Mary, glad to see you. And then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put some adhesive. I did on the wrong side. Okay, we're going to do it this way then. I needed some adhesive on the side that's going to fall over here. So I'm going to have this upside down versus what I had the other one, but I don't really know that there's a right side and a wrong side. I just like it the other way, but today we're going to do it this way since I put the adhesive on the wrong edge. And I am just trying to center it best that I can, equal distance around here. I'm going to get that a good push. So now that is down on my card. So we've got a really cute Z-fold started here. All right, next I'm going to bring in my Mary Merlot cardstock. You could pop this up or you could put this flat. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on this one. I think when you add the texture, you don't want to do that, but since this one's a flat one, I'm going to go ahead and add that a little bit of dimension. So I am just using my Stampin' Dimensionals. These are two-sided foam dots. And then I'm going to give the centers a little push, and hopefully I will have good luck getting the backing paper off of these. Yay! I love it when the hands work. So this actually extends beyond that designer paper. So I'm going to try to, sticking good. Again, it's hard for me to see because my head cannot go over the top of it. And look at that. I got that dimensional a little bit close to that edge, so that's sticking. So here's what I'm going to do to fix that. I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to push the edge of that dimensional in. Have you guys ever done that where you're like, oh, darn it, I put it in the wrong place. So now it's all good there. Perfect. All right, so let's finish off our focal point. So I'm going to start again with a leaf. So let me get that old olive ink back out, and we're going to do our stem and our leaf. So I'm going to put a stem on there and my leaf. Cute, 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 cute. And then we're going to finish it off with the flower. Now, I'm going to stamp 2 flowers actually. So I'm going to use the larger image. Move this out of the way. And we'll pull back in our Blushing Bride and Rococo Rose inks. And I'm going to ink up the whole thing, just like I did on the small flower. And then I'm going to take this dauber and add some darker color up here at the top where that overlap is. And I'm going to stamp that right down. Okay, so you can see how that's a little bit darker. Now I am reaching over and cleaning my stamp. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are liking this. You know I struggle with comments and seeing that, so hopefully I'm not missing any questions. So I'm doing this a second time. I just inked it up in the Blushing Bride. I'm going to add a little bit of depth of color with that Rococo Rose, and I'm going to stamp a second flower. Perfect. All right, so we can set all of that aside. We don't need those anymore. Perfect. Get those close so we don't put our arm in them. All right. So next we are ready to use the Coordinating Tulip Builder Punch. So you know our punches have a lock so that they store folded. So all you have to do is push them and lock them so that they'll store, and unlock them to use them. Great. I use most of our punches upside down so I can see what I'm cutting out. So I'm going to slide this in here, and once I get it where I want it, I'll do a light squeeze with the punch. And then once I've got it, I can get both hands on there and give it a nice good squeeze to punch that out. So hopefully that made sense. Now, for this one, I want a second, but I only want half the tulip. So I'm only wanting 1 petal. So I'm going to use what's intended to be the leaf and cut out another petal. How cute is that, right? Okay, get it where I want it and then give it a good squeeze. And I've got that petal. Cute, right? I think it's a fun way to use this punch, stamp set and punch. Okay, So let's go ahead and get this flower put together. I'm going to put a couple of my dimensional dots, the little foam dots we had here. Put a couple on the back. Now, if you wanted to use the smaller, the minis, you could. I think this fits okay, so I'm not going to worry about this one. Whoa. All right, and let's see if I can get that down in place. Cute. Gives it just a little bit of depth. Now, if this bothers you that this is sticking up, you could always put a glue dot so that it kind of gives a little bit of an angle here and snips that back down. I'm going to go ahead and leave it because I like it how it is. And I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more. I've got a lot of dimension going on. A couple more foam dots on the back. And just lay that right there. I love that. Cute, cute, cute. All right. So you could adhere this flat or you could pop it up again. I think I've got a lot going on with my layers, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere this flat. So let's just put a little bit of snail on the back of there. You could use liquid adhesive or glue dots if you prefer. And I'm going right there. I'm committing to that spot. Excellent. It's cute, right? All right, let's add one embellishment. We'll put some ribbon. You could add the rhinestones as well, but if we're trying to keep this a little bit simpler and a little less time consuming, that's the easier way to do it. Now, I told you needed approximately 9 inches of ribbon. It's going to depend on, oh good, I'm glad you guys love that. Yay. I like to tie my ribbon with my ribbon on the spool versus cutting it to length. And you really have to kind of figure out with your hands and how much extra you need for tying. So I'm going to start, I like to create 2 loops. Hopefully you guys can see this. And then I cross them over. One loop goes in the hole. I learned this as the bunny trick, right? Bunny ears, and pulled it tight. So that looks terrible. That's a terrible bow. But if I hold the center of my knot, not too terribly tight, but enough that it's going to keep the ribbon from going completely loose, make it small again, and then pull those loops. Look how easy that was. So now I've got a super cute bow. I want it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to repeat my process, holding that knot. Right? Cute. Love that. I'm going to snip those ends off. I'm happy with that. I love it. Okay, so let's grab some glue dots, which I did remember. Yay! Oh, you didn't think about using the leaf as part of the flower. Oh, I'm good. I'm glad I'm showing you something that you didn't already know how to do. That's great. All right, so I put a little glue dot on the back of my ribbon there, and I'm just going to set it right there. Okay, now earlier I said if that bothered you, you could glue that down. Does that bother you? No, I think it's still cute. I like all the dimension. So, cute and not hard, not a difficult fold at all. This is one of the simpler fun folds. Anybody can do this. I know you can do it. So, let's see the 3 versions again. So, you've got down and dirty, a little, well, maybe not the most simplest version. I do tend to go a little exciting on some things. You could punch this instead of die cut it. I just really like the stitch detail. You could lose some of the layers if you wanted to, but again, this is a basic regular fold card. And then this is the one that I submitted for the International Highlights contest, where I've added some extra stuff going on with my dimensions and my texture and my embellishment. And then here's our version that we've created today. And look, I have each one at a little bit of a different angle. I don't know if that really matters. I think it's cute no matter what. So, perfect. All right, I'm so glad that you guys love this one. Good, good, good. Okay, so a couple things I want to ask you. So one, please go and vote for my card if you would take a moment. I'll put a link to the blog post so that you can jump over and vote. Kylie does a contest every month, and the winners, we just get to participate in another hop, but it's fun, and I like the challenge. Several demonstrators globally participate in that, so I'd appreciate it if you'd take a moment, if you like my card, if you'd go vote for me. The second thing I wanted to put out there is if you would love to get this card packet in the mail to recreate this one on your own, I'd be happy to send it to you. So if you place an order today with me, between today and Friday, that's April 10th, using my host code, which is 4PA2DKVH. Don't worry, you don't have to remember that. I will post the link so that you have it. But if you place an order with me in the next couple of days, now through April 10th, I will drop this packet in the mail to you as a thank you, so that you can create this on your own. And you can switch up for any stamp set. You can put any stamp set in this and make this super cute card, right? Okay. If you're watching on replay, I'm glad that you were able to come in and see us as well. Love for you to join the CreativeLeeYours Studio group, Facebook group, or subscribe to my YouTube channel. That'll be great. And again, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope this gave you a nice break in whatever you have going on this week and a little bit of fun paper crafting. So join me again next Tuesday and we'll try something new. If you've got any requests, anything you want to see, let me know and we'll try to accommodate. Thanks so much and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.